Good night and welcome to Mindful Live 186. We are on now. Thank you for being here. It's Thursday, the 9th of February, so it's Thursday Talks. On a Thursday, we do Thursday Talks. G says the Barbados we wax poetically about has low salaries, so many taxes, even property tax. Yeah, like many people talk about Barbados, but I'm quite confident most Trinis, if they see how Barbados works, they wouldn't really want to live Barbados either. Good night, Tony the Ambassador. I indicate about 19 minutes now. Well, Empress Roni, jump in the chat because tonight Roni had a topic for us to talk about from since before she requested this. We're talking about period poverty. There was an article in, was that The Guardian or the Newsday? I think Newsday it was in, that spoke about a study done in Trinidad and Tobago that revealed the level of period poverty in the country. Let me see if I could find that here. That was The Guardian. Study shows period poverty exists in TNT. Let's see if we could get a brief read of what the article is talking about. Study shows period poverty exists in T and T. More than 68% of women in TNT were unable to attend either work or school because of their period. A study published in an international scientific research journal this week has revealed on average women skipped approximately 3 days of work or school due to periods. The 4-month-long study conducted in TNT stated, although we did not measure the loss of income due to menstrual problems in this study, we anticipate that women who are daily paid workers, for instance, would lose income for every day they spend away from work. This can be devastating for women who reported staying away from work for an average of 3 days due to their periods, it stated. In addition to this, the study stated that more than half of the women in TNT revealed that at some point in time, they had to resort to using either toilet paper, napkins, or paper towels in place of sanitary supplies because of the exorbitant cost of period products. All right, moisture appreciator. Woi, what's up? What's the good? Most other countries, there's almost no middle classes, either you're rich or poor. Now, I was reading this, and when I read this, to me, a large part of this is just plain out poverty. It just, to me, highlights one specific area that poverty specifically would hit women more. But really, period poverty refers to poverty in general. You don't have it because you lack enough of the resources to purchase it. Now, the thing is, how to deal with that. To me, when I was reading this article, I'm wondering, yes, I'm getting into that topic, RL. I have no fear of it. None. Not one. When I'm reading this, I'm wondering, okay, so what is the solution to this? How do we avoid this? I saw someone say their period product should be free to all women, and I understand that sentiment, and they spoke about that also in this article at the end. And I'm wondering about such things. The reality is, things cost money. This is just the reality of poverty in the world. The things that we need, the things that we want, the things that we desire, they cost money to produce. Well, they cost resources. They take work, and work is exchanged for money. Work is represented by money. So in order to produce this sanitary product, it required someone to do work. So someone had to give that someone else the value of their work in order to get this product. How do you now get the product free to women everywhere? Someone would have to pay for it. You can't have people making the products for free. That's slavery. So someone has to pay for it. Where does the payment come from? Who pays for it? The government? Do you think that the government should have a line item in the budget that says sanitary products for all females in society? G says lesson on reusable products. Menstrual cups are available for $100 and lasts more than a year. I know about menstrual cups, but the reality is some people aren't accustomed to those things and they want what they would be accustomed to. Tony Wizard says, I think we need to take a shutdown and have a clear mandate so we can fire any government ministers. Shut down. And who makes money during the shutdown? Please, no shutdowns. You probably said that, and some entrepreneur, some business person, they had skipped a beat. You mentioned the word shutdown there. Some people, if you aren't on that side of things, you could not understand what shutdown means for some people. If you have a business where you have overheads that you have to pay regardless, you have a restaurant running, you have raw goods, raw material coming in every day. They're in the refrigerator. They could spoil, and people talk about a shutdown. You have your rent to pay, whether things shut down and no customers come out or not, you still have rent to pay, and people are talking about a shutdown. A shutdown may cost you some hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not something that many people would want to hear. That shutdown talk, you're scaring people, I'm sure, saying that shutdown. RL says if it's not manufactured here, it cannot be given free. G says accustomed to in hard times, adapting is more than preference. Understood. Good night. Are you related? Yes, I am. Unpredictable Ty. Yes, I am.
Nathan, you hear in my background? Firstly.
No, I'm not here in your background. I'm supposed to.
Okay, good. No, I was just making sure. Because the car's packed a little away, but the music's still loud. Anyway, my main okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
My main concern with this whole thing wasn't what was researched, like what was the stuff that wasn't concerning to me, and of course it was concerning. Like, that's a horrible thing that happened, but the response given by ladies, right? A lot of women made the comment that, women should be given 3 days paid leave to deal with their periods. And I don't think that a lot of women understand what that means for them. If you are a career woman, that would mean that you would know, if you do decide to take the paid leave, or if they make it like mandatory or whatever, then you stand the chance of being paid less than the man that you work next to. Or not getting a job, because the job market is not going to see you as a hindrance to them. Like, damn, I'm going to have to make sure that I get this woman 3 days a month. That's slowing down my productivity. So, is it that women want to revert to, the good old days when the men
give them special treatment,
money and we sit at home and take care of the home?
You know what some of these things reveal to me? What I think about some of these things? I find it kind of funny that it seems so shocking to some modern people that they're rediscovering things that the whole world knew already. The world been knowing this since time immemorial. Women been, listen, no matter how you believe it, if you believe that humans evolved 300 million years ago, since we were male and female, generally females were different, and they started having periods a long time ago. Periods have always been there. It's now revealing all of a sudden, as it were shockingly, why certain things were different, why women typically did not work outside of the home. Oh wow, they have something that happens to them that makes it a bit harder to do physical labor and move around every month. So, that may be part of the reason. And yes, it is also part of the reason why in some works, in some jobs, women make less money, because there is a physical reality to this. Like, if you have to miss three days of work per month, I'm not saying that makes you a lesser human being, but you must understand, if you're doing the same amount of work every day as a man, let's just say you're doing the same amount of work every day, but the man has those three extra days on you, he's going to make some more money on you. That's just the reality. Yeah. And paid leave, that paid leave thing, it could happen. It's not that it can't happen, but what you have to understand is you have to realize what you're asking for. What you're asking for there, really and truly, you're asking the government to tax men more money to take care of you. That's kind of what you're doing there. If you want that to happen from a top-down structure, because it would be women getting paid leave, so then the people that would be paying for it, You understand? It will be men paying for something that they don't have access to. So, in other words, it's like you're getting the state to enforce the same thing that culturally they used to enforce before, that men used to take care of women. And now, no, we don't want men to take care of women on their own prerogative. No, 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 no. Let's have the state take taxes, and then the state will take care of women instead. I mean, if you'd rather the state do it on your behalf, so be it. Morpheus says Scotland, New Zealand, New South Wales, Illinois, Washington, New York, New Hampshire, Virginia. Yes, I know many places do it. They do give out free products in many of those places. I know that. And we already know how Trinities feel about taxation, yes.
But these places that given out, especially the places in would not be something that the government does. It would be private that do it. Like I have a friend that does it. She has a team, and they have these period banks or pad bank, period banks, I believe they call it. And you get toilet paper, other sanitary napkins, all kind of products, whatever you could get, even down to like, I don't think, because it's in schools, it have it in schools as well, so I don't think you could get the painkillers. But you can get almost everything. And who does it? Who stocks it? The regular people. I donate to her. And she is in a few schools right now. So that's something that the private sector needs to take on. It's not everything that the government and the government. And she's not even no big businesswoman. She's a preschool teacher. And she decided to take on this initiative. And that's how it starts. You know, one of my next friends, in her workplace, they bought a box and they put it in the women's bathroom. And they just pop out if you want to. So that's how these things start. We don't need the government to step in and do this and do that.
I agree.
And as far as the paid leave and the paid leave, in Trinidad and Tobago, we do get leave for periods. Most people don't know that. I know that because I get really, really, really bad period pains. So I suffer with menorrhagia or whatever. So I stay home last month. I stayed home for 2 days because I could not go to work, and I was paid for it. I'll be paid full for that. But that's only if you know you have to go to the doctor and stuff like that. Of course, it doesn't eliminate the use of my sick leave. And if by September, October, I done into extended sick leave because of it. But I get paid for it.
So your period leave is out of your regular sick leave?
Yes.
Right. Oh, well, that is different from what you said. We get sick leave. But
I think that you would get paid for it. So even if like in September, by September, my 14 days would be up because, you know, if I take in 2 days a month, and then I would take my time as well, you know. But 2 days in addition to whatever days I take. By September, October, I don't have no more days, and I run it into ESL, but I'll be getting paid for it.
So,
and I also pay.
To highlight this, I'm really not staying too long, Nathan. I prayed tonight, so I'm actually in a good place right now. Bless the Lord, hallelujah.
Well, then you should stay. You should stay while you're in a good place so we could hear what good place Ria has to say.
I would just like to highlight two things. One, on the note what Empress is reading now, even the privilege of sick leave is not something everybody has access to. Literally, as the study was saying, if it is you miss a day, you miss a pay, is very real. And there are people who, that's why, regardless of how their child is feeling, would still send them to school. That's why it had people who, especially with how the pandemic happened, even when it is they were experiencing symptoms, they still went to work because missing that $100, $150 for the day meant something not being paid at the end of the month. As well as not every job can implement this, I understand. But this is why living in the 21st century, 2023 specifically, and having hybrid methods of work and school will be beneficial. So if it is you are unable to physically go to the office or physically go into school, it should not be that you are missing out simply because of your physical absence. You can, from the comfort of home, whether it be because your flow is heavy and painful, so you can't log in or you can't be in class in the morning or be at work in the morning because your pain is so much. If it is by 3 o'clock that Panadol kicks in and you are feeling better, once it is you get your work done, you have deliverables, you have measurables, you have assignments to complete, etc., etc. Once it is by the particular time frame, you could complete your work. You know, why not adapt these particular methods that still promotes getting the job done?
Well, here's a question. I don't disagree with that. I agree that you should be doing hybrid methods long time now. Not just now, long time now. I agree with that. But here's an interesting question. Seeing as there are established physical differences between men and women, if I'm running a business, should I be forced to hire women if I know that they would work less days for me?
If it is phrased the question differently, you will get a different answer. Should a woman be denied being hired simply because of things that she has no control over as a woman? The answer is no to that one as well.
Well, here's another way to phrase that. Should a man without legs be denied a job for things he doesn't have control over?
Does the job in question require him to utilize the legs that he does not have?
Well, he would certainly do the job better with the legs.
No, well, that's the thing about it. If it is he can't get the job done without his legs, if it is he's a typist, for example, then I don't see why he can't be hired. But if it's a job where it requires him to be on his foot moving back and forth.
No, he's a messenger. But he could move on his wheelchair. He could go around the place. It would just be much slower. So he could do it. It just would be less effective.
Well, I who work in public service don't see a problem with it because messengers usually have chauffeurs. So
No, not that kind of messenger. Not that kind of messenger. Messengers in the big cities where they have to move around without cars. Don't try to tweak my example. I'm creating the example. He is less efficient.
Well, I think if it is you are able to do the job. If it is, because this is what I'm saying, if it is at the end of the day you have 50 meal to deliver, even if you finish work 11 o'clock in the night, that is not my business. So long as you get your work done, if it is you willing to finish work 11 o'clock in the night, that's you.
Oh, but if he cannot do as much, if he cannot, it's not a matter of that. We will get charged if we work the man after 6. We'll have to face the court, the industrial court, for that. And within the 9 to 5 hours,
He's being paid overtime.
within those hours, he cannot accomplish the same amount. Should I, as a businessman, be required to hire someone like that? Who is?
I don't think anybody's required to hire anybody, so no.
Well, yes, you are required in some cases because you can be sued for discrimination. So, the question I'm asking here is: should gender discrimination in workplaces be okay? Seeing as, like we learned here with the period poverty, what the period poverty is taught, the reality of period poverty is showing us is that there's an obvious physical difference between males and females that affect them at their jobs. That's a lot of what they're highlighting there. I am not denying that at all. But seeing as that is true, should someone who is hiring people for jobs, should they be able to take that into consideration too? Because remember, if you're hiring somebody, this is the free market, this is capitalism, your aim is to make money. Your aim is to make money. So I am trying to hire the worker that will make me the most money.
Correct, but then I think the fundamental difference is that even though all women experience periods, not all women dysfunction during that time. The difference with the paralyzed or crippled or legless man is that all legless men, crippled men,
don't go into the details before somebody get vexed with you for being offensive.
Like, basically, what if you have mobility in your legs or no legs to mobilize, you kind of get like.
So okay, I get you. I get you. So here's a little.
Hold on, wait.
Okay.
If it is, but here's my thing. If it is, let me just say, there is a man who have real strong arms and he real speedy with his wheelchair. Let me say this, call him Speedy. And he could legit do the job. Speedy, when it is the Speedy coming, everybody knows Speedy. When it is the same going on with the wheelchair, as a matter of fact, people in the neighborhood like him so much, they lower the mailbox.
I agree. You know, what you're saying there is my view totally. But
he retire, he get his biggest party.
Here's what you're saying there, Ria. Kinda. What it sounds like to me. Let me just say what you're saying because I'm putting words for you. What it sounds like to me. Like, okay, if you're saying that and I agree with that every woman doesn't experience everything the same way. So is it that I hire women and if a woman experiences 1 month bad, 2 months bad, I'm missing 3 days, another 3 days of work, should I be able to bye-bye, well, you're not the kind of woman I want?
And this is my question. Is it that by the end of the month, she's not delivering across the board? That's what I'm saying. Even if it is in 2-3 days, I am not able to perform as well. Is it that by the end of the month, I am still not meeting my target or my quota?
Here's it. Here it is. I think you're still thinking of this a bit from the probably more public sector side. I'm thinking more private business, where I look at each worker as an investment. This worker costs me 10,000 per month to pay them, and whatever work they do, they bring in 20,000 per month. Yes, the lady is still doing well. She's bringing in 17,000 per month, but she's missing, because of those 3 days, she misses that 3,000 extra. Okay, but I could hire someone else for the same 10,000 who is going to make 20,000. So I'll get 3,000 extra. It's not that she cannot do the job, it's that she isn't as good as. And she's taking the same salary that someone who could perform better would take.
Again, so this is why I said it's your measurables, because even with these 17,000 that she's bringing in, is this 7,000? Is this 17,000, consistent, or is it fluctuating? Because hear me out, if it is, I have 17,000 standard every month coming in, and you could rely on that. It's like an investment fund. You know, you have the 1% at 1.5, and then you have the risk.
But Ria, I don't think you're thinking of that as a businessman. I don't think you're thinking of that as a businessman. As a businessman, I'm looking to make my company as lean and fit as possible. I want everyone to be the most efficient as could be. I am spending $10,000 on this specific job position. I'm spending $10,000 on it, and I know that someone else could get me $3,000 more. That's just the bottom line of it.
You can't only consider the financial. I mean, there are other things that, when it is you look at it, both men and women are to the workplace, that gives you that balance. If it is you had an office or a workplace just full of men and you're thinking, well, okay, we're getting more financially, are you really functioning better?
I agree.
Actually saying that in the workplace that things flow nicer, because something as simple as, even though this woman is bringing in less because she's missing work, sometimes something as simple as, I'm not coming down on men, but some things simple like filling the flipping kettle, like, is a scene. Something a woman
wait, just now, Rooney, before I forget. Okay, Rooney, you're right, Rooney, go ahead.
Cause a better flow in the workplace, filling back up the paper when it run, like little things that you probably don't realize you miss until it's missed. And then what I'm saying is that it's necessary that it's just financial is immeasurable.
Valsa, no, they are not. I'm talking just now. I just want to say to Valsa, I'm talking about a hypothetical. I'm not saying that men are always efficient. I'm talking hypothetically here. Go ahead, Rooney.
Well, this is what I would like to say. In this scenario that Nathan has created, if he hires somebody else that will make the $3,000, they'll just hire a maid who will most likely be a female, and then she would now be placed in a lower income position. You understand?
Yikes.
Okay,
And to that Andrea, I have a question to your answer, which is she's making less money than the males because she missed every few days, right? Would she be willing to take a pay cut?
Right, so let me go to the first thing that you said about hiring the maid, right? So let's say this, compared to the female, she falls $3,000 short in profits, right? If it is, they go and pay this maid the same $3,000, right? Is she bringing in any profit, or it doesn't come like it's just balancing back? If it's even balancing, because you're still out $3,000, that is not necessarily a profit return. As opposed to at least when you spend 10, you don't make 20, you make 17. You don't make 10, sorry, you make 7.
Well, here's the thing. If I'm thinking about this as a businessman, right? I would hire the man and the maid. Here's why. Because okay, now, and that's kind of why I was wincing when you were saying what you were saying, because what you were saying sounded like you were saying women are better at cleaning and cooking, which goes down a strange road.
I could talk about this in detail.
But if I'm thinking as a businessman and I hire the cleaner, she wouldn't only fill the kettle, so she would be able to do other things. And that's the whole thing as a businessman. That 3,000 extra that the man may make you could hire another worker who would be able to fulfill a whole new range of expectations in your job. So what I'm saying there is that if we allow people to fully...
You're going to now have to hire more persons to cover it. You're going to have to hire a clerical staff, a clerk or a clerical assistant to be able to do those different administrative duties that they may need assistance with. And then you're going to have to hire the maid separate.
Valsta, what you're saying there is actually, if I were to conclude my full opinion, that is my opinion. I believe a diversified workplace is more efficient. But my belief on that, I think if I were to get my full way on a workplace, people would call me sexist and they may get rid of me. Because I think, just as Ria is talking about there, I have employed some people before, I've worked before, and you notice that women are better at certain things by far.
But Nathan, but then with that very same logic, then you should stop hiring nationals, because you yourself have said that if any work harder, they work faster, they work more.
In certain areas. It's certain kind of nationals. I was speaking in general, and I don't hire any and every national. Not at all.
Here's the thing about it. When we speak about the women, we're speaking about them in general.
When I didn't hear that piece.
About the women, we're also speaking about them in general. Of course, they are the women that work, they are the women that don't have a set of pains probably once every 5-6 months, probably once a year. We're still speaking in the same general.
Right, and in general, I think
demographics would be eliminated from being hired.
In general, I think the cost-benefit analysis for me in hiring mostly Venezuelans wouldn't benefit me in the long run. That's why I wouldn't do that. Although they do generally work harder, the other risks that they are, and the whole picture, I wouldn't generally hire them as the entirety of my workforce. We would hire Venezuelans. We have done that before, legally, of course, but not for the entirety of my workforce. But as I was saying, I think that, yes, people are specialized in some things. And if I were to have full swing, I would fully well do that. And you know, when you look sometimes at some of those older companies, you see that you go in the back office and it's only women in the back office. In the warehouse it's 10 men, and they cool with running the company like that. The men dirty and every evening the women still clean and in an AC vehicle. And to me, that's how things kind of run better. You work where you're best suited. And the problem is, I think a lot of the problem comes from people thinking this tabula rasa idea. That's a modern idea where they think the blank slate, everyone is a blank slate, and we could just create anything out of everyone as due to circumstances in life. And that's not true. There's a lot built in on our base hardware, as it will. When we come out of the womb fresh and made, there's a lot already there that won't change regardless of what you do. And I think it makes sense to make the best of those differences. In fact, RL says balance does not prove better productivity or profit. I'm not sure what you're talking about. If you're talking about balance in terms of exactly equal male and female, then I wouldn't even say that's balance. So Shai Panda said, I think there needs to be a balance, but there are some rules that each gender excel at. Oh, so that's what you're talking about. I don't know what you mean by a balance. I hate the idea of equalizing things based on anything. Like equal men and women.
I would like to address two things.
Mm-hmm.
One is the question, that Empress would have asked. If it is women are willing to take pay cuts. And I find this question from Empress very strange after she's already said that she gets 2 days off from her job with pay, even because she was experiencing physical discomfort and she had to take a 2 days sick leave. If it is, I find women should still be paid equally. Yes, again, only because...
By the way, GRY, I saw you over there on Instagram.
This is not something that women say, hey, I want to experience period pain today so I can stay home from work. No, of course, there must be something put in place so that there is not an abuse of it. Even if it is I don't experience period pain and I just feel to take 2 days from work, I go in and say I get period pain this month. I mean, balance it out a bit. Say, you know what, we will give leniency for 4 months out of the 12 months per year. No, obviously some women experience period pain every single month. So they would be using both period leave, if you want to call it that, as well as their sick leave. And I'm not saying at any point in time you should be giving women all the set of leaves to do whatever and whatnot. But again, these are things beyond a woman's control. It's not like to say at any point in time she's choosing to be in discomfort or she's choosing to not have the things necessary to be able to function because she simply does not want to
Ria,
function.
as you say something there, it reminds me of another angle of this. And that's a good thing that you brought up there. For men sometimes, and I'll tell women this, as happening to be a professional man all my life, well, actually not all my life, for some time now. I was a boy before that. But what happens sometimes is the nature of what a period is. Some people don't even want to talk about it. They find it too taboo. But honestly, those things don't bother me. I taught biology before. Whatever. But the nature of it is that it's something very personal. So what is going on during the period is something that the woman has the say of totally. And men have been tricked and fooled by women before. So some men are even wary of women talking about their period. Like, I don't believe that hurting as much as you talking. You're faking that. You're lying. And the thing is, sometimes there are some women who would use it, and that will, it's like the fake accusations and assault and stuff, that works triply against the women. Because anytime there's one recognition of, wait, you used that thing where we would allow you some latitude, you used it to selfishly get a benefit where you shouldn't have, no, then everyone is going to look at it more seriously now. So that's a part where as women, you'll have to, not have to, but you should be able to understand sometimes the mindset coming from the other side too. Sifted says the wage gap doesn't exist. You are paid based on what you do regardless of your gender. A man and a woman who does the same job doesn't get paid higher than the other. They get paid the same. I agree the wage gap is generally a myth. I agree with that. The changes she refers to can only be implemented if women get wealthy and own everything.
Not so much in Trinidad and Tobago. But I mean, in places like the US where you see they're actively speaking out against it and trying to get the work in to have it a little more balanced, I think we can see that it does exist. As I say, probably not so much in Trinidad and Tobago, but it does exist. But I wanted to...
not even in the US?
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't exist. In the US, for unmarried women who have never had a child, women who have never been married and never had a child, they actually make more money than their male compatriots. And that kind of sells out the whole thing to you. The reason women generally start to make less money is they get pregnant and make a child. And they can't be in the workplace when they do that, obviously. So they make less money. The wage gap is a combination of all men and all women, and they recognize that all women make less money than all men without checking the differences in what they're doing, how long they spend on the job. So, for example, the 3 days thing, what that means is on average, men, because they said that on average, women take 3 days off per month. So on average, men work 3 days more than women per month. So let's say it's a daily paid job. if it's a daily pay job and the man is getting 3 days more work in, every month he is going to get more. Now, when you look at it after the end of a year, there is going to be a wage gap. There's going to be what? 12 times 3, 36 days of pay more that man is going to get per year. And if you just look at the numbers, it would look like, what? Why are they paying the man more? That's an evil thing, not understanding that the man worked more days. So if they were to actually pay them equal, what you're doing there is being unfair to the man. Right? The man would actually be working more while being paid less. You'd actually be paying the woman more than the man for less work. So that's literally what unfair means. Question Positive Radiation asks, if that problem doesn't exist local, why should we use it to change our local laws? Because there are certain movements and certain modern ideologies and thoughts that have a lot of sway because they took a hold in the universities in the 60s when the hippies left the streets and went to the colleges and became professors. The US study explicitly stated men work longer hours, tougher jobs, that's why I paid more. Yes, Positive Radiation says, but women getting back the money, a certain tax raise.
Wow. Okay. But and I would like to defend myself when Rhea asks, why would I ask if she's willing to take a pay cut? This is it, right? If I work in a job that is dependent, which I have done, I worked in jobs that would be dependent on my ability to complete a certain amount of whatever it is, right? Or a certain amount of tasks.
Performance-rated jobs. Performance-rated jobs.
Right. Well, yeah. So I have worked that, right? And when I do miss work, I get a pay cut because obviously I'm not there to receive the money, right? Well, to do the work to receive the money. And when you get paid by NIS, it's a standard pay. It's not like if I was working, the work I was working at, I've been paid a lot better because, overtime or whatever. So the money that NIS gives you when you suffer these terrible period pains or whatever, is just to compensate, but at the end of the day, it's still kind of like I took a pay cut,
Roni, what you're saying there is a difference between women and men choosing jobs throughout. So I don't know how many people followed, for example, the bacchanal with this women's soccer team and men's soccer team in the United States. The difference in pay, and the women were really upset because they were making less money. And their point was that although the men are generally, the male sport attracts more supporters, the female soccer team in the United States is actually more successful than the male compatriots. And a lot of people watch their games, so they found that they should have made more money. When people went in and actually looked at the contracts, it wasn't that there was obviously there wasn't bias based on gender, because if there was bias based on gender, people could sue, and they will sue. That's actually illegal in nearly every place in the Western world. What it was is there were two different types of contracts. You could have chosen a performance rate-based contract or a constant pay contract. And the vast majority of women decided they would all choose the constant contract. Now what that does is all of the women have sure money. They pass, they fail, they win, they lose, money sure. What that means for the men, the money not sure, but let's say I am the highest performing man. I am scoring a hat-trick every now and again. I am going to be raking in a lot more money. And that's the thing. Men are willing to risk it for the biscuit. That's the general difference between men. And it's a difference between roles in parenting too. Women, you do not want a mother who is too risky. A mother who is too risky is a bad idea. She's going to kill your baby. But you kind of need a father who is a bit more risky, because you need someone willing to risk it to save the family. So it's as Roni says, I always used to say this, I need that sign for this new studio. There's a biological reason for that. So there is a biological reason for that. Men generally take more risk, women don't. So I fully understand what you're saying there, Roni.
So
Yeah.
I would just like to refute Empress's point. And I would just like to make...
Look how kindly women, Anna. So it's only when it's men and women in the discussion it does get better. Look how kind and sweet.
I spoke to my Lord today, and I'm just.
And I heard it breaking up.
Right now.
Ria, your song then, I find your song then do say like the medicate you or what? You on medication?
No,
I didn't hear what Ria said.
I'm not on medication. I'm just in a place of peace tonight. I'm in a good place.
What he name?
Anyway, as I was. His name is Jesus.
What good place name is?
Anyway.
Alright, go ahead.
So I would just like to refute Empress's point in that you said to be able to take leave off with your menstrual pains, you had regular sick leave that you were able to access. And this is because in humans, we understand that we are not robots. Even if it is we don't work weekends and we just work the standard 5 days a week, we are not always going to be men and women at 100% 5 days a week for all 52 of the year. And this is where the sick leave came in to be able to make provision or allowances for the days when it is you're feeling mashed up. You're coming late, did you catch you? You're feeling mashed up the next morning, like whatever is the reason, that is where the sick leave allowance came in. And as I said, there are some jobs, not just for women, but for men as well. There are some jobs that do not even have that option for sick leave, simply because of whatever system they're in. Literally, a day not present is a day not paid. And I think even in those situations, there should be some sort of measure put in place, even if it's 10 days or 1 day average per month that you're allowed to take a break, whether it be mental rest, physical rest, spiritual rest, emotional rest, like whatever it is in that for that month that you may need, because realistically we cannot always operate as if we're robots.
You're right, and I think that's part of the argument for the 4-day work week also, because some people, there's an argument that if you work people shorter hours, I'm going to say less longer, shorter hours, if you work people shorter hours, they may actually work more efficiently and you will get better returns for that. So I understand that argument, and in Trinidad and Tobago there is actually an avenue for that. Even if you're in a job where you own your own business, where you own your own business, as Sifted is talking about there. So you're a plumber, you're a mason or something like that. Okay, if you miss the job, well, you don't get paid, obviously. But in Trinidad and Tobago, you could pay into NIS. That's the purpose of insurance and those kinds of things. So you're supposed to pay into your NIS continually, and even if you have to miss a day and you're a sole trader, you're not employed by any big company, NIS will pay you sick leave for those days that you miss. That happens in Trinidad and Tobago. There is that avenue. Now, here's a problem. I work, as I've said before, I work in contracting in the construction industry. We've done that for a while also. And a problem that many people have. Many laborers hate the idea of paying NIS. Many people working in the construction industry, in the construction sector, when they get their pay slip and they see money missing, they are angry. Health surcharge, what is that? But the day they need it, they recognize what it's for. And that's a problem some people have. There is the possibility for them to create an avenue for them to have that freedom to miss a day of work, but where they would have had to pay in to create that opportunity, they chose not to. And because they chose not to, now when they're on the side that they need it, now they're like, why the government and them didn't put nothing in place? You were supposed to be paying your NIS.
I see somebody put a comment that if it is they were a business owner, that would not fly, and I would just like to refute that comment as well. If it is you do have a system whereby you do not have allowances for this type of thing, you would have a higher turnover. Sorry, Empress?
Sorry.
I hear next voice there, Empress. You do a thing.
I did. I heard it too, but...
Never mind. You go on here. You go on. We pretend we didn't hear nothing.
I was saying, if it is we don't make allowances for things like that, you will have a higher turnover of staff which means you would be less productive and efficient because having to train new staff over and over and over because nobody wants to stay, or it's not a working environment that that is comfortable. And when I say comfortable, I don't mean you develop laziness in the job. I mean you develop a relationship where it is you all are mutually understanding. Then they're going to, as I said, you're going to have a higher turnover in your staff, therefore reducing your productivity.
I'm listening.
Well, no, somebody said another public sector answer, and most people operate. But when it is you're a business owner, you're going to see that if it is you treat your staff well, the better you treat your staff, the more understanding you are. And as I said, not a pushover, not being taken advantage of, but you would see that they were willing to give more where it is they're more appreciated. And that's just the reality of it. But I will let you all become business owners to understand that, though.
I agree. But there is a balance in that, obviously. There's a balance where there's a limit. That's not the whole setup gain travel there. But there's a limit to the payback to that. Like, okay, yes, if you treat your workers well, you are going to get some benefit from that, but also it's only so good you could treat them and get a benefit. Like Google and a lot of those social media and tech companies, they treat their workers amazingly well, sometimes too well, and some of them keep posting about that on TikTok, and some of those stuff you could see a day in the life of a Google employee and all of that kind of madness. The funny thing is, a lot of them who posted that kind of stuff were fired not too long after, because some of those models were just unsustainable. You see, the original idea of Google and those tech companies, they did that kind of super nice work environment thing to attract the best engineers, because engineering is a highly competitive field and you want to attract the best engineers available. Great. The problem is that the HR managers, the administrators, etc., they all come in and enjoy those benefits too. If the company isn't making enough money to keep paying it out to them, things cost money. That's just the reality. That's the unfortunate reality. Things cost money. So if the company isn't making enough to keep giving them the goodies, well, things going to get sketchy. So there's that.
That's why I said that there needs to be an understanding. It's not one where you're a pushover, and because you are a nice boss or understanding boss, like everything people are able to just walk over you and get away with. No, you at the end of the day, as a leader, as a boss, you have to have your boundaries as well. You have to be able to put down the negotiation and say, listen, I understand your plight. However, this and that was done just last week and the week before, and as I say, not the advantageous situation, but you must be able to put on tactfully.
Yeah, but how do you do that, you think? What's the balance for that? What's the secret to balancing that? Or will be just the right balance of good and bad?
I think it's to get a proper idea of what the person's situation is. So if, for example, I could see that, let's just say, it's a situation where she is now swamped, or he is now swamped, and he has the responsibility of, let's just say the wife had surgery. So now I had an employee who used to be able to do all this set of work, and he's cutting back hours, he's doing this, he's doing that. And it's like, okay, I understand your wife just had surgery. Okay, by the third week, like I understand, but at the same time, I'm really not getting what I need to get. The first quarter is coming up, things aren't looking where it's supposed to look. This section is severely underperforming. What do we do here? And as I say, a negotiation could happen. If it is, I say, listen, if it is you work from home, do you think you can perform better? Let me give you a week home. And if it is your measurables are considerably better for the period that your wife is at home and you do not have support with regards to your children, we will negotiate it on if it's every 2 weeks or a month-by-month basis. And we do this return of personnel kind of something where when it is a serious slacking or you're lapsing, you have to come back out to the office. And nobody wants to come back out to the office. Or well, at least, as much as he could, he would not want to be back out there. You're saving so much when it is you don't have to go to the physical office. And, it may be that in that point in time, he gives more in that he wants to finish work all in the night to make sure that he does not jeopardize the negotiation that just happened. But then, it's up to his mental health too, because when it is his wife is better, he might say, finally I could go back to regular office hours because I know my work is between this time and that time. And honestly, earning the midnight oil was just a little bit overwhelming for me. Let me just say that's how he feels.
Massimo, by the way, sorry that something is partially blocking the IG camera. That's the charger to make sure that the battery doesn't knock out on me. So apologies that it's partially blocked over there on Instagram. I understand what you're saying. Part of the problem is that people lie. People lie, and people lie sometimes about the most serious, tragic, heartbreaking things. Like you would think that no way someone would lie about that just to stay home from work, and yes, they would. So
but here's the thing about
yes, they do.
all right, even if it is all right, not that I'm condoning lying, and this is why I think it's important to create such an environment where people feel comfortable enough to be honest, because a lot of this honesty comes out of fear, whether it be fear of rejection, whether it be fear of punishment, like whatever is the fear, most dishonesty is a result of fear of whatever. Realistically, if it is somebody is home and they are performing or giving me more than if it is they work in office, I don't see why they should not be able to work from home. At the end of the day, them paying their own internet bill, and I am benefiting off of the fact that you are doing better work than if it is you in the office. Now, to be able to keep certain things in my control, I may say, okay, same thing. All right, you want to work from home this week, I'll sign off on you working from home for the next 2 weeks. And ever so often, I make it mandatory. Okay, I know you're working from home this week, but you have an office day on Wednesday, or you have an office day every Wednesday for this month, even though you're working from home majority of the time, etc., etc. And that's what I'm saying, like, why are we punishing people? If it is you in St. Lucia and you getting the work done, why am I upset that you in St. Lucia? Am I still getting my work done at the end of the day?
well, there is a side like this. I was reading up on this, and several business experts are coming out now against the work from home idea, because what some are saying is that you're losing the workplace culture, one, and people in a workplace, they share ideas, there's creativity building, they are able to focus in more on work. So there are some places that are moving away from the work from home idea. They're saying come back to work, come back where you'd be hungry about the work, where you'd be focused on the work. The thing is, I think there's a kind of side of according to what job you're doing. There are some jobs that's just needed, and according to what position you have in what place you're working, I think that would be a factor. But I do think there are some jobs that you can do from home that we are not doing to the best of our ability to work out that way. The way I like it, to me, my perfect scenario for most jobs is that nearly everyone should be, as it were, an entrepreneur with their skills. So it's nearly like, okay, I am an HR expert. I am selling my HR skills to you. What do you want me to do? You want me to see about your payrolls or whatever your HR people do, and you tell me how many people you want me to do it for, and I give you a price per month to see about these many, etc., would be this price. You pay me that price. It's not your business how many days I work. If I could do it all in 1 hour on the first Monday of the month, then grand for me. It's not your business how it's done once it is done. I like that idea where nearly everyone is, as it were, an entrepreneur selling their skills based on what they can do. And I think that's the ultimate answer for efficiency too. We pay you based on what you do. If you want to take a year to do it, then you will make the money over the period of a year. If you want to do it in a day, you make the money over the period of a day. And you understand that pay is based on efficiency. I think that's what we need a lot of, particularly in the public service. We do not have nearly any of that in the public service. You know, whether you work fast, whether you work slow, if your boss is vexed, if your boss is happy, they don't like you, they like you, the pay constant. Well, as constant as public sector pay is. And that's what we're missing, that impetus for efficiency and drive.
Which is why even in the discussion about how to negotiate work and understanding, that's why it's important to know that what will work for you this year may not work for you next year. So that's why I said leave it open, in that like whatever is a change will change. And you're correct when it is, you say, depending on the type of job, that's what people would be able to negotiate. And I think, honestly, if I'm speaking honestly, I would say that in my head, when I think about a business, I genuinely think about mine, or the business that I'm trying to build, I should say. And I often think about, especially being an employee for the past 11 years, I think about realistically, what are these things that I am not understanding about the system that remains the system because it's the system, versus what could work in life, because reality is there are other ways in which we could work. So I always want to be somebody who's adaptable, that if it is, things should happen that, hey, boom, flick, bossa, split, we back to fully online because we're back in a pandemic or some disaster is happening and we are required to be from home. It shouldn't be that an orange level alert all of a sudden puts a stop in all our activities. It should be that, okay guys, orange level alert, work from home tomorrow. Stay safe, buy your cricks, stock up on water, stock up on toilet paper, see you next week.
To what Swift did saying there, the thing with being passionate about your job, I think just like happiness and relationships, passion and work has been severely overestimated. Listen, people been working since people been peopling, and all work isn't going to be enjoyable. That's the nature of work. You just have to be able to do certain things, and you have to understand that there is duty involved. There's duty involved where you have a duty to do something, and you could, as it will, get your passion and drive from your sense of duty where you understand that purpose. And if you're able to do that, I think you could get a much better work experience out of that, understanding that you don't have to be doing your dream job as it were. You could enjoy something you're doing without it being your dream job.
And I think we should also give acknowledgement to the fact that there are a lot of things that people are good in, but they don't necessarily like it. And
that's true.
There's a lot of our doctors out here who are very good at what they do. They just lack a bit of empathy, but that does not make them any less good is not a term. That does not make them any worse in their duties, simply because they're not, oh my gosh, hi, how are you today? What's wrong? Let me help you, you know?
I watched it, Positive Radiation, that I was speaking about that at the beginning. Listen, Tobago News took me on a rabbit hole last night. I nearly spent 3 hours taking in Tobago News, watching Tobagonians talk. I'm like, wow. It was interesting. The amount of shut up and hush up pass in that Roxborough meeting, I was like, way, like we are training these people, boy.
I think even when it is you are passionate about what you do, there will be times when it is you get annoyed at your job. I think there will still be times when it is you're ready to just kick the bucket and find the sugar daddy or the sugar mama and just do away with work.
Sifted, what I was saying, Sifted, wasn't that you don't need to be passionate about your job, but I was saying I think people have. So I drew the relationship example because I think people have that happiness in relationship and passion in work. They kind of have it vice versa, where they think like you would have the passion in work and go to the job and carry that passion, or you'd have the happiness at the start of relationship and then you go into the relationship with that happiness, and that's how you get a good relationship. While what I'm more saying is I have a more probably tortured view of it, that what you're saying is that you you don't necessarily need the passion to go to the job. You understand the duty of the job, and then from there you could build passion for something else. Now, the second thing is your passion doesn't have to be how you make money. So Ria was talking about you could be good at something and don't like it. That could be how you make money. You're good at something and it's not necessarily your favorite thing, but you understand it's a very useful thing, and you go be passionate about something else. So
Yep.
I think if you're looking for that passion, you could wind up in a lot of trouble, because what you're passionate about could be nothing. There are some people with the personality where they're less conscientious, what we may call lazy. They're more lazy than the average person, and you don't really feel passion to do anything. So then what, your job is going to be being unemployed? No, you have to still go out there and do something. Sifted says, I totally understand that these things may not necessarily align. Yeah. I think productivity is better than passionate. I agree too. And I think that productivity comes from a sense of duty more than a sense of passion. So like if I'm hiring someone, I'm not necessarily looking for the most passionate person. I'm looking for the person who is willing to put out the work. Whatever is the reason they're willing to put out the work. So in many places, immigrants that come into countries like we were talking about the Venezuelans, you look in the United States, almost every group that is doing best economically are immigrants. And it's not because those immigrants are passionate about work. It's not that they love work more than anyone else. No, they have more of that sense of duty. So they're not going to miss the job. They're not going to miss that exam. They're always going to put out what is necessary for it. So I think that is actually more needed. I'm passionate about carib, but that can't pay me rent. Maybe if you go into a professional carib drinking competition. Who knows?
Yeah. It's still can't pay rent.
See, I'm Stickman, you wanted to say something, bro?
Yeah, I actually fall in the category what you just spoke of, which in terms of I'm not really passionate about anything. I'm a very lazy person, not going to lie. But I have accumulated a lot of skills over time I actually do like and enjoy, but I'm not passionate about it to go chasing after it every single day. Right? I'm a certified barber of recently, and I am a very proficient IT tech. Right? And I find sometimes it's be a chore just to fix something sometimes, and I just want to rock back, play some. So, you know, and a lot of people who around my age group is in that same category. And I just find a lot of people put a lot of, what's the word I'll give for? A lot of pressure on younger people. Hey, you have to find out what is your passion and figure out what you want to do before you turn 25 and figure it out and move from there. And I was like, you're not even doing your dream job. Why are you putting so much pressure on me?
I agree. And I think some of that needs to be more organic. I am always a serious proponent of much more apprenticeship so that young people could actually get to experience working life before you tell them, choose what you want to do for the next 50 years at 18. Like, that's a ridiculous concept. Of course, they don't know what they want to do for the rest of their life at 18. Like, that's a hard thing to just put into one choice point. So I think you progress gaining skills and seeing what you enjoy. But as you were talking about the passion part and with young people, I think a lot of that's why when they ask young people in the West, what do you want to be? They say an influencer. And you ask them in the East what you want to be, they say an engineer. I don't think it's necessarily about passion. It's about understanding certain things. Like if you lean into that dopaminological feeding loop where you're just trying to get the dopamine hits, you're trying to get that good feeling, the internet is really good at that, then everything is going to seem less passionate for you. The only thing you'd have a passion for is playing games and probably porn. Because that's the idea. That's your brain. Your brain is like overstimulated constantly, and many people are like that. Many of the younger generation are like that. They grew up already watching videos from the time they were 3 years old. They were watching videos with too many colors, too many songs on YouTube. That was just overloading their brain circuit to keep their interest peaked. It taught them nothing. It was just like drugs for babies. I hate those videos. I hate those videos with a passion. Some children already grew up on that, and by the time they reach 20, they're not passionate about anything. It's impossible. Or the mechanism in their body to feel passion is dead. Listen, younger people, the Gen Z, is having less sex, literal less than the previous generations. The youth pregnancy levels, they're worrying about it less, and it's not because they're wrapping it up. It's because they have less interest in it. And it's understandable why. It's understandable why. You're fed so many hits on that passion feedback loop in your mind that your passion feedback loop is burnt out. So obviously you don't feel passionate about anything. And then the people over you tell you, you know what you need? Go out there and figure out what you're passionate about. Well, no wonder everyone is an OnlyFans worker, because that's the only thing that could peak it now.
So on that, Nathan, do you not think that one of the reasons that they're not so much interested in it is because the realities of what it is now so easy to find, in terms of, whereas before sex was something very taboo, where they don't talk about it, or they make it look like if it is, in order for you to know about it, you have to know about it. But because information is so out there, because people are so open on their experiences as a parent, as a partner, in a relationship, out of a relationship, in a situationship, whatever ship they're in, because all this information is now so easy to find, or easy to access, easy to learn about, easy to know, can you say that it is the availability of that information that gives them already an idea of what it is, rather than they have it to find out for themselves?
You see, it's not, knowledge of the act doesn't decrease people's enjoyment in the act. Someone could be a guy...
Because even with these people who don't have as much interest, they didn't say that they don't participate in it, they're just not as interested, or they just not as active.
Yeah, they aren't, because they are less interested in it. The passion circuit is more dead. And that's not because of too much knowledge. Too much knowledge isn't what kills that. You can learn over and over. The learning about it doesn't give you the dopamine hit. The corn, as many people are saying to not get the live thrown down, the corn actually gives you that dopamine hit. It's a biochemical reaction that stimulates your brain, and the thing is, every time it happens, it requires a little more for it to happen again. It's like drugs. That's why you need more and more and more and more and more. And then there's no surprise after you're so overstimulated that the actual act. There are some young men particularly. It's a real problem with young men, because it was always the young men that drove the desire. It was always those androgens fueling in those young men. And for many of those young men, erectile dysfunction, the testosterone level of a 25-year-old now is the testosterone level of an 80-year-old in the 60s. Their testosterone levels are dropping. Those men are literally turning into girls. And a lot of that, I think, is what they're feeding their minds over time. You're beating that dopamine circuit. I didn't mean it in that way, but you're beating that dopamine circuit to death, and now you can't work it anymore. And social media is mastered that. The thing is, it's not only for men, because men get that hit in one way, but women do get that hit in another way, in the attention and the sexuality displayed on social media. And we're seeing where overly, like, some of the outfits you see people in on social media, and I know this could go down a whole other road that we don't necessarily have to go down, but the outfits you see some people wearing on social media now, 20 years ago, that would not have even been shown on the Punch and the Bum newspapers that were basically known as pornography in Trinidad and Tobago. And now girls will show that for free on their profile. And that's because of that same dopamine feedback loop that is dragging young ladies out into visible sexuality from a younger age, and going more and more extreme. Like, where are they going to reach next? And you're just going to have to keep climbing further and further and further to keep getting that dopamine hit more and more. The thing that I worry about with that is the AI generated ones that are coming, and it's already out there. There are websites where I could take a video of Rhea. I'm going to use you. I could take a video of any celebrity and go on a website, put it in, and the website is going to show me nearly anything I want to see. It's already there. I mean, it's a little janky now, but that's only going to get better and better and better. I'm sorry, I think the whole OnlyFans thing has a limited time. What's going to happen when a man could type in to his AI what he wants, and the AI generates a lifelike video doing that exact thing of whichever woman he wants to see doing it? What's going to happen then? Like, where is this whole thing headed?
Can I just say who are the persons or the demographic that are actually funding things like OnlyFans right now?
What do you mean? What you say?
Like, I said, when you look at the people or the demographics who are keeping those sites like OnlyFans and things alive.
Men, you mean?
Not just men, is the type of men, those single, creepy men who can't get girl no other way. Old man, lonely man.
Here's something to keep into consideration here. That is partially true. There are probably vast majority are creeps. But there's also a side where some of that is kink, you know. So, like, I have heard some guys before talk about going and getting ladies of the night, and some of those guys weren't fellas who can't get women, but it's the kink of it. They like the kink of it. They like the feeling of paying and making a woman do something for them, as weird as it is. So, in the same thing maybe for OnlyFans too, it's not all weird, desperate men. Some of them may be wet men out there who just have a kink for that. So there is that too.
I was going to say my thoughts on OnlyFans was the demographics of, like, you're just paying to see whatever is your fetish online is. So it's more like, I don't want to, like, I'm gonna say some fellas or some females, they might be interested in something or want to try something with their partner, and they're just a little too scared to show about it, so they go online, watch it or see about it and be like, yeah boy, I go try that one day. And when I find that perfect, that's somebody. Some people be like that. And I have a friend, he spent like over, I think, $3,000 in one night in one of those places.
What happens not to it, so? Like, so
it's a weird story, but yeah. But it's not that he can't get females or anything. He could get a female on his own. It's just, he said he does not want a relationship or a woman in his life. So once a year, he might just go in one of those places, have a time, and then go back. Wherever he lives his life, that is the type of guy he is.
Okay. Alright. Once a year you get your fix and you good. I mean, okay, if that's his thing, that's his thing. But that's kind of the point I was making, though, that some of it isn't all just random creeps out there. Some of it is normal. Some of it is relatively normal men that you would think are normal, and they're accessing some of those things too. I think probably like in the trafficking realm, the kind of men who are most likely the users of trafficked people, I think if we look at that demographic, it might be mostly married men, if I were to guess. I don't know that for a fact. If I were to guess, I might guess mostly married men. You see, I think sometimes women, obviously, sometimes women don't totally understand men. So, like for some men, the process, not that they can't get it, but the process, they don't care for it. They don't want to go through the process. They don't want the process. So, they're willing to pay to avoid the process.
Might I just say
I wanted to say
tonight. Yeah, pause. I just wanted to say, as we are talking about passions tonight, no, he wasn't talking to us, he was talking to the man, give my chance. I was
talking.
Fight it out. Can be late.
When we talk about passions, Nathan, I think one of the things you could look into is a mindful debate, because one thing I realize is that no matter what is the topic, if it is you give somebody a particular subject and they, whether they're for or against it, they can make points both for and against a particular subject. And usually it's whatever it is predominantly discussed. You have a lot of people talking about the other side of it. So I was just going to just throw that out for you. So, you know, you finished talking to the man? Sorry?
I was in talk. Yeah. Anyway. Right. Okay, true. But I wanted to go back to the point where where we were talking about passion and people not having passion for their jobs and stuff like that. A few nights ago, who was it bringing out? Oh, what's going on? Okay, enjoy your night. Sorry. Alright, we were talking about passion in jobs and stuff like that. And I remember, like, I don't know if you remember, a few nights ago when I was talking about universities, which like doing cycles of whatever, and people were saying, but what if I wanted to be a doctor? Or what if that was my dream job, to be a doctor? And I didn't want to be mean about it, but just because that's what you want to be doesn't mean that that's what you can be. You know, like these dream. I mean, I don't want to sound classes, but at the end of the day, I think we should leave dreaming up to rich people because they have the money to dream. We had to look fit. You understand?
If you're too poor, you can't dream. You had to live awake.
No, you have to just get up and go.
so all you hear, Rooney, poor people, all you don't dream, all you have to stay awake. No sleeping and dreaming here if you're poor. If you're poor, kill that. Here's how I will say that, Rooney. I understand what you're saying, and I think there is some truth to it. But I might put that more on the work side. On the study side, what you're studying, if someone wants to study something, the only way I would limit that is their ability. I think in terms of desire, someone should be able to go study whatever they desire as long as they have the ability to succeed at it. Now, if you want to go and study medicine and you're failing biology, well then no, that's not for you. But even if you're poor and you want to study medicine but you're really good at those subjects, then by all means go and do it. So it shouldn't be a matter of whether we allow people to do what they want. It should be a mixture of what you want and what you're good at. If you want to do it and you're good enough to get through, then we should allow you to. That's the perfect coalition of it.
No, I'm talking about in reference to people not being able to do or having to wait for a cycle to do what it is they wanted to do. Remember, we had spoken about that. Now, you guys said it, so like, I think you would have made the point that maybe it shouldn't be on cycle, but really on we don't need it right now, so we're not going to fund it. The government is going to fund it. Mm-hmm. But then think about if the government not funded it, how much people will be able to do it in any way. So it will kind of be like that wait it out.
That's fine. That's fine. Now, here's my thing, and I kind of was saying the same thing even with period poverty too. I have lots of compassion. I feel it for the poor. I do, but I also understand the reality that things cost money. We hearing you sifted. We hearing you. Just by the way we're hearing you right after I talk, you could jump in. I have a lot of sympathy for the poor, but something that's just reality is that things cost money, and if you don't have a lot of money, you won't be able to get many things, and that's sad, but it is the reality, and we cannot change reality from being reality. It's what is. A tall animal reaches the top of the tree, the short animal cannot reach it. An animal doesn't get enough food, the animal dies. That's just reality. So from the perspective of if the government isn't paying for it and you can't afford it, then so be it. You can't afford it. That's just reality. You can't afford everything. But what I'm saying is there shouldn't be a hindrance where you're saying you cannot go study that because we're not going to allow you. I mean, if you can't pay for it, then you can't pay for it, and that's that. That's the barrier to you doing it. Yes, if did. Say 50.
Well, it was
I hear everybody in double dog, so like I will request to join again because like I hear everything twice.
Well, we hear you clear.
This was a thought I had. There is a lot of youths where I was growing up with. Some of them dropped out of school, and some of them, one or two of them, became professional mechanics. Out of they just walk in a garage one day and be like, "Hey, I can speak to the boss man. Hey, I just want to work here part time. Learn a couple of things. And when I catch my hand, I'll just go and study and get my certificate and whatever." I was like, besides just trades in that field, if it would be like, say, doctors, lawyers, or whatever, if other people could do that, that'd be like an amazing idea. You get an idea, you'll decide if you really want to further it more, or you'll just continue on in that field. If that would be like an actual thing, what is possible in Trinidad and around the world as well.
Yeah, you see that I not always, but I've been saying that a while now, and to me, mechanic is one of the fields that you see that still in a good bit, and I like it. You see that in the mechanic field a good bit still, where people walk in from parents take their son especially. He had for giving trouble, sent him by the mechanic garage, and he's a mechanic by the next 3 years. And the point I usually make with that is if someone, I'm using a boy because that's most likely a mechanic, but if someone leaves school at 14 and goes start training as a mechanic, and by the time they're 17, 18, they're a proficient mechanic making serious money per day. And then by the time they're 21, they're well educated in the field of mechanics, and they may have their own business or a senior person in a business already. And by the time they're 21, the person who graduates from university with their bachelor's degree, they're fresh out of school with no work experience, and they have a university degree, but they have to go out there in the job market and hunt for it, which isn't exactly easy sometimes. So you would have that balancing off where someone who may not have succeeded as well in the school route, they're able to succeed still. Instead of you forcing, I made this point so many times, instead of you forcing someone, that 14-year-old, to stay in school till they're 18, 19, frustrate themselves, never learn anything, and still come out bad. Trinity is paganism. Okay, Dan.
Only work if whatever it is they're pursuing is not a profession. So you can't go under the wing of a doctor at 14 and learn med.
Why not?
You have to listen for that. No, you have to
Why not?
for that. Because I feel like, well, if I have laws in place that you have to start med at 18, and you have to like...
Well, laws cause that. Because how do you think before there was an official med school, there were always doctors, there were always healers? How do you think they learned back then? By going and learning as an apprentice. I think if doctors learned as apprentices from the age of 14, we'd have better doctors. I believe that.
I believe that too, but because of how like they set up that system, you kind of do have to wait, and you have to go through certain things in order to even apply for med, because they make med such a prestigious field to go into, to limit the amount of people going into it. Yet med is such an oversaturated field. So if it's a profession, I think it would be a little bit harder to learn under the wing of somebody.
I agree, but I don't think it necessarily should be so. I'm not sure what profession there is that would be more difficult if you do it in an apprenticeship form. In the apprenticeship form, the problems you get in school, where you get that disconnect between what am I learning here, what's the relevance in real life, you don't have that disconnect there. You have the relevance, okay, that's the real life implication, now I could learn the theoretical reasoning for it. And the motivation to learn the theoretical reasoning is actually more there when you see the real life implication. The mechanic garage is an example. There are mechanic garages around where I live, and I know some of those mechanic garages where people who drop out from school hated reading in school, but now they're reading entire manuals and engines and turbos because they got into that at the age of 14. It became nearly a hobby as well as an apprenticeship style job, and now they want to dig in and learn more. So they're motivated to learn more, and it pulls the learning side. I am sure some of those guys, if you sent them to mechanic school at 14 and told them we're going to teach you how to be a mechanic, and in the next 4 years when you graduate with all your mechanic subjects, then you go out and be a mechanic, I'm sure you did that way, and it would have been a disaster for them.
But I was
I agree. I agree in terms of things like that. But I like it as I said, if it's a profession, it will be a lot more difficult to have an apprenticeship for something like that.
But I don't think it necessarily should be. Ria asks, interesting, Nathan. So if at 18 an apprentice doctor is the one delivering your baby, would you be comfortable? It's not about whether it's an apprentice. It's if the doctor has been an apprentice since the doctor was 12. And at 18, they're still in the apprenticeship program, but they have already delivered 15 babies. And they have studied this inside out. They know this. They're in and around the hospital. They know everything because they've been learning this from the age of 12, where 12-year-old brains are much better than 25-year-old brains. So they know this thing inside out. Then fine. In terms of ability, an 18-year-old should be able to deliver a baby.
What I was saying is, you're hearing me? Because
I'm hearing you.
Okay. Okay. Right. So, something I've been wondering, I don't know if it's totally possible or whatnot, but I was thinking to myself, instead of making children, right, this is why I thought about it. I was saying that we should go back to dollar for dollar. Reason for that, for university, reason I said that, it's not because I hate people and I don't want them to go to school and learn, but because I have seen what children do when they have 3 degrees. They go and they play cards all day. And I see some people who pay for their degrees, they go and they're in the library all day. Because you know why? They pay for it. So people was like, oh, well, if you have to pay, how am I supposed to find the dollar to add to the dollar? And I was wondering, is there any way, or is this like law, or is this like a private entity, you have to do this? But I was thinking it was a really good idea. If I decide I want to be a lawyer, right? Now, I don't have the dollar to pay to go to law school, but I could go to a lawyer's office and work as an intern, as you know, going and fetching, I go for any lawyer office or whatever. And then the lawyer might be like, oh, like you show great promise and like scholarship. Like the lawyer could be the one giving scholarship for law because, you know, and then they say, well, because you work, because I am sending you to school to get your degree, you come here, you come right back here in this office and you work for 5 years to pay back your law degree or whatever.
Yeah, some people would that way.
Who would do the same internship and they realize I really hate law. Like, law is horrible. And then have to do a whole degree to realize law is horrible. And I can walk away having nothing.
What you're saying there, Rooney, there are private companies that do that. There are private companies that do that, where they hire someone. I know an AC company, they hire someone and they send the person to learn AC technician stuff. They send them to school. Many companies send their workers to school to learn. And the thing with that, I think what I think you're saying and what I would agree with is it could start from even younger. You don't have to wait till someone is old and ready to try and do that. I think some of that can start from younger. The idea that children cannot work, you know, no child labor out there, I don't fully agree with that. I think children need work. Part of the problem, I think, in society is people are spending too long in their lives without working. Somebody could live till 29 and never really work a day in their life. They don't understand the real world of work. I think that's a bad thing. You want people to mature faster than that. All right, people, look at the time. Look at the time. Leruni, get back to whoever in the car there with her. Good night, sir. Hold it down. Be well. Sci-50, after coming and taking your life someday, you're a gamer, right? It's gaming you do. What's your game? What's your game of choice?
These days, League of Legends.
League of Legends. Well, I'll take in some lull sometime when I jump in after taking that. All right, folks. That's all I have for now.
It's on my lobby right now.
Nice.
All right. I don't actually play game that much anymore. I like games, you know. It's just I don't get the time. Unfortunately. All right, people. Yeah, I hope you're educated, informed, and entertained. And I'll see you guys again for the next Mindful Live session, which is going to be tomorrow. It's Friday tomorrow. We'll be talking about whatever news there is to talk about tomorrow on Friday, starting around that 9:30, 9:15 kind of time. See you all then. I hope you're educated, informed, and entertained, as I said before. And until then, laters, people. Peace. Hold it down. Shiny Douglas, you rarely. You rarely. Where you coming midnight? What you coming midnight expecting, sir? What do you